Hi, welcome to this video session on how to switch off your unit. So you might think, why is that important? So with the accelerated devices, it has an accelerated fan, of course, inside, but this fan also works for cooling down the unit faster. Normally with devices, you open up the door, they have to let the oven cool down. It takes quite an amount of time to get from 270 to a safe temperature. So what I'm going to do with our MRX today is I'm going to shut it off first. It's going to count down to a temperature to roughly about 90 degrees Celsius from 270, and that should take place in under 5 minutes. When it reaches 90 degrees, of course, it's still too warm to then go in and robustly start to clean, but you want it to cool down slightly more. You still want the oven warmish, because then the debris and the caking of the food product and the splattering will come off a bit easier. So we'll do that straight afterwards. But for now, so my unit is over there. I'm going to push the button on the left-hand side, the little icon that says on and off, the green button. And then it will tell me, open up my door. The unit is starting to cool down. Okay. So welcome back, everybody. That's the oven now cooled down. One thing I forgot to say during the earlier session was that tell everybody that you're actually opening the door. So if this is in a walkway, you don't want somebody to slam the door. What I often do is I take a floor sign and I put a floor sign there, and to let people know, please be careful to where you're walking, because that is definitely a trip hazard. Okay, so oven is now slightly cooling down nicely. It's still a bit too warm for me to go in there and do the cleaning bit, but it's going to be ideal when I'm starting to use my detergent and then commence with the cleaning process. So I'm going to remove the table. I'm going to put the table somewhere where it cannot damage any of my equipment. I'm going to use a clean microfiber towel and a washing microfiber towel just to clean it out and then to dry it out afterwards. It's very important you dry your unit out. And also at the end of the cycle of your cleaning, leave the door just slightly ajar. Okay, and that will let the oven breathe through the course of the night, and it will also then not create any moisture inside your unit, which can affect your PTFE liners, which are in the oven. They tend to bubble if the oven is too wet inside. Okay, so that for me is ready to clean. I'm going to use my first towel. Again, the detergent you can use inside the oven. You can also use it on the exterior panels. It's all friendly for that. And of course, you can come with your sanitizer at the end and make sure that all the contact points are hygienically then sanitized for that. It's very important to also note, never spray this directly onto the fan at the rear of the unit. Do not spray it up the unit, at the ceiling of the unit as well, where your impinger will be. Rather, directly onto the towel and then wipe the back. If it's a bit more robust caking, maybe you've done a bigger pizza and the cheese went to the back and it started to cake onto the stainless steel vent by the fan, then you can use a soft green pot scourer again, moisten it with this and just go with slow movements and get that debris away. And I do recommend that this gets done every day or at between services. If you're doing a lunch and a dinner service or a breakfast and lunch service, do it as often as possible to maintain the cleanliness of your unit. Okay, so I'm going to remove the table. So bearing in mind, be careful, this might still be hot, so I'm protecting myself with a towel. Should have really been this towel. This will do. And I'm going to clean it now. So I've done a couple of paninis and a pizza or two this morning with one breakfast. So the debris is quite, the state and the condition of the oven chamber is what I expect it to be. Also try, when I'm doing cheesy products, not to overload it with loads of cheese. It's going to melt anyway, because all that the cheese is going to do is going to run off and it's going to touch on the surfaces where it'll make your life so much harder to clean. So the detergent onto my towel, and I make sure I get it really, really nice and wet or moist. And all I do is I go over the surfaces which are affected, give it a good wipe, and that can be inside as well. At this stage now, I'll come with a clean towel and I'll dry it. And that's the unit, nicely cleaned inside. Again, as I said, I didn't use it for too much product today. However, it's caked on more. It will require just a minute or two cleaning. And I suggest you do this, as I said, often as possible, every day as a minimum. And before I'm going to leave my door ajar, I'm just going to clean the exterior parts of the oven as well. So again, I'll come with a clean towel. I'm just using the other side of the one I just had. Okay, just below the side panels and towards the front of the door, there are the filters, as I mentioned earlier during my earlier video, and these need to be removed and they can be cleaned individually. The unit will remind you at least once a week that you need to re-clean the filters, and you have to acknowledge that you've cleaned them before you can actually start your cooking process. But I do recommend, again, depending on how busy you are, just check every day, and I would at least clean it once a day, or at least make a time for every second or third day as part of your housekeeping processes. And now I'll show you how to remove the filters and clean them. This, like I said, is very important to clean this as often as possible. The unit will remind you every 5 to 7 days that your filters require cleaning, but it's part of your housekeeping to check the unit in the morning. You'll often find breadcrumbs collecting on the bottom here, and if the filters are not there, they get sucked into the unit and they can damage your product. So those filters are vital for the operation of this device. So there's two ways to clean it. You can either wash it in hot soapy water and let them dry out, or dry it manually. I prefer to use, simple, you can use any kind of brush. I prefer to use a kitchen nail brush, not for your nails, but actually for kitchen products. And this I'm going to do to rub off all the debris on there, and then that's ready to go. So I can always keep one of these handy near my unit. So I'm going to drop down. They are on magnets, so they're quite easy to remove. There's no screws involved. And I'll take 2 of them off just to show you. I'll take one off on the side. Like I said before, there's one on either side, on the base of the unit, and also one to the front of the unit. Okay, and these are what the filters look like. So at the moment, I can't see any visible dust or debris that's settled on them. But regardless, I'm going to give it a clean because that's what we've got. We've got good housekeeping. We'll make sure that I do both sides. Do the same for this one. So when you do get a message that pops up, and it will normally do that in the morning when you switch it on, or the first time in the day that you switch it on, the unit will ask you, have you cleaned your filters? So you can be naughty and say, yes, I have, and continue to cook. You stand a chance of damaging your unit. These all means at that time, before you switch the unit actually on to start heating up, do take the filters off and clean them. And again, that's the reason why the brush, when you do it dry, is much better than wet, because the last thing you want to do is put water next to an electrical appliance. So the dry brush is sufficient. I've gotten rid of all the crumb debris that was forming on the bottom of my unit, and now I'll just put them back into the slots where they must go. Remember the 2 magnets. And that's it done. To remove the filters, all I've done is I've used a little wooden stick. Please don't use the chef's knife in the kitchen because the tip can break off, and it's also quite dangerous to use a knife. So anything sharp that's not the chef's knife, can you use that? And it comes off quite easily. So now your unit is completely shut down. I'm going to open the door again, and now we'll isolate the unit by the main switch. And that is the unit. It's completely off and safe. So I can start it up the next day again and start the process of cooking and running my restaurant. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you with the next video.